Welcome to Honest Footy Review. My name is Leggy, and as always, I'm joined by Walley. How are you, mate?
Top of the world, mate. Top of the world.
I had to double take. I thought you were wearing a Sydney Swans hat, but I realised it's a Fish Creek hat.
That would never happen. Fish Creek?
Yep.
Fishy?
Corduroy. Mate,
absolutely.
Corduroy Fish Creek.
Our man Jordan Shaw delivered this to me on Sunday.
Delivered? Wow.
Hand delivered.
How good.
This is, mate, we love fishy.
We do.
We're big Fish Creek fans.
We need to get down there, I think, for a game this year. Just go on a Saturday Arvo, have a few jars.
Don't worry, not to play. I don't think we get a game from them. They're not bad.
No.
They're going for the 3-peat.
Yeah, I know. I don't think we'd be, we wouldn't even get a game in the reserves, I reckon.
No, I don't think so.
Down there. But look, let's dive straight in.
Yes, let's get into it.
Let's maybe cast our minds back to Thursday night, which feels like a long time ago, given we're recording on a Tuesday morning. But interesting game in the end, because I didn't give you guys much hope. I think I said that in a couple of text threads. I actually thought there could be like a Suns 40-plus type operation, just because the conditions. You guys left a lot of players out.
Well, we posted last week. I didn't think we were a chance.
But you played really well in the end. Like, when you think about it, you take that result.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't go into too much fan stuff. What I will say is that if you're a footy fan, you will appreciate this. Like, if you actually give a really, really care about your footy, where you go, do you know what? It's going to be a professional loss. We'll go up there. It's fine. Look, we know what we're doing here. We're leaving Meeky and our experienced forwards, Gunston's having a rest, all of these bits and pieces. We're doing that. We've got a couple of other guys that are still coming back. We don't know who's right. Like, we're going up there. It's perfect conditions for them, and then we're going to have a big month when we come back. 2 minutes into the game, that goes out the window, and just it was just some of the stuff I was yelling at the television.
Was it 5 goals to 1?
It was more like when we started coming back, I was like, you just can't help, but you just really, really want to win it. Forgetting all that for the moment, the one thing I will say that is a positive they both had a big positive. The first positive for Gold Coast is that they've built a fortress up there, really. They only played there 2 times a year. They'll keep doing it. I think the stuff they're doing in the community and all that all helps, all comes in. But they held off a team that were coming, and they were able to.
But in the end, it's professional from them. Yep.
What I did like about Hawthorn is that, I don't know how much this has been spoken about, Hawthorn was forced to play a game plan that isn't their normal game plan. They had to go long down the line a lot. They weren't able to control the footy, and it held up, and they lost by a kick. So I think that both signs from both teams are good.
Yep.
The next month will be very interesting for the Hawks. But, mate, look, we can't spend too much time talking about the brown and gold when you guys went over to the West.
Yeah.
And you did what maybe you thought. You dropped in. You did drop.
I backed West Coast to cover the line. I thought 9.5 was too big. I thought even if St Kilda were to win, they wouldn't win by a lot.
No. And you dropped in at one of our WhatsApp groups. We're gonna lose to West Coast.
There was a sense of inevitability about it. And I think that's why I don't reckon I've ever been more emotionless after a loss. Like, I think this has been coming for a while. Like, the Saints were 3-1 and they've only won 1 game since round 4. So it's not like they've been this team that's been playing. They've been playing quite poorly for a while. They were pretty average against Carlton. They had the win against Freo was great, but then outside of that, there's been some shocking performances. They got smacked by the Dogs. There was another game in there that hasn't totally escaped me where they got smacked as well. So I think it's been coming for a while. Look, really disappointing. You can't. Like, obviously, full credit to West Coast. We need to, they kicked over 100 points. They looked really good. Their intensity was up. Like, we need to give them credit. But I just think for the Saints, some of the ball use was horrific. You can't win games when you're conceding scores off turnovers the way they did. And I think the forward line looks completely inept. People that are still saying that their forward line is better without Max King just because they finished the year strongly last year is a complete joke.
It might be less predictable. It doesn't make it better.
Yeah. But yeah.
In fairness, people used to say that occasionally about Buddy.
Yeah.
Which was ridiculous. Yes, Hawthorn, when he left Hawthorn, we won 2 flags after that. Yeah. The team was still better when Buddy Franklin was in it. Like,
and Buddy in his prime too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But even Buddy, when you've heard that about him, people will say it about anything. People just go, oh yeah. Unpredictable doesn't always mean better. It's just different.
Yeah, exactly. Look, Ross, he switched some things around. I think Wanganeen Miller and Philippou in the midfield is a glimpse into the future, assuming Wanganeen Miller stays.
We did sign. We saw him sign.
Yeah, he signed that Saints fans piece of paper, which was quite funny. But look, I mean, it is what it is. I think I said during the year that I thought we could be at the start of the year, I said we could be 2-7 or 1-8 after the first 9 rounds, and they got to 4-5. Which still didn't feel like a great 4-5, but it was still slightly better. But I don't think any of us expected that they would be a team that was going to challenge this year. So disappointing, and pretty interesting game against the Suns this week, because this is actually the kind of game that I think we will win. Like, I know it's just so St Kilda that when the season is done, you play a game against a team that's going really well, and you have a bit of a chance, and you take it.
Marvel?
It's at Marvel. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm not going to say something stupid like that, but it just wouldn't surprise me if they beat the Suns. They beat them there last year. I think the Suns don't really play that well there, and they lost to Richmond there earlier in the year.
They are coming down from a massive high. Mate, you guys were travelling horrendously last year. You're about 4 goals down to the team on the top of the ladder in Sydney, and you came back and beat them in that
it's
game.
Weird things that, yeah. But
mate, that's a far more unrealistic result than this one. So
I can see it
definitely
happening,
win.
especially because there's no expectation. And unfortunately, when there's no expectation, they actually play it right. When there is, they play poorly. But anyway,
it's bizarre.
Let's move on from that. Let's get into some of the storylines we wanted to discuss.
Yes.
First one for me, the Giants still need to relocate to Geelong. I said it last week, and I'm going to say it again.
Geez, so good.
It's extraordinary how that happens to the Giants, how they have that win against the Cats in Geelong, and then they go back home to NG Stadium against Freo, who we all believe have been playing quite poorly. They have been playing quite poorly. It's a fact. And they were smashed. They were absolutely smashed. Full credit to Shea Bolton. Unbelievable game. 3 goals, 24. Good, they were fucking good. And they've got so much talent on this list. When they actually play with a little bit more expansiveness, they don't just chip it around the defensive line, and they actually go at a team, they're fucking good to watch. And they could have won that game by a lot more. They were inaccurate in front of goals.
So this is the thing, is that Freo, we were talking about this earlier.
Start of the year.
Yeah, and so it's like Freo was the one. Now Freo with their draw coming up, they're the one that can come in. You had to look ahead of the draw.
Yeah,
you reckon they could be top 4 in 5 weeks?
Yeah, well, I'll just say now I'll just go into it. That was going to be my honest take. Was I think Freo were going to play finals.
Yeah,
I think the draw helps. They've got North Melbourne, St Kilda, and Essendon. 3 games in a row. This is a bit further down the track, but 3 games in Perth because North sold their home game.
Another great move by North Melbourne.
I think they could be in the top 4 in the next 6 weeks, but purely based on the draw. They've managed to just scrape their way to 5 wins, which, given they've been inconsistent, you'd take that. It's okay, but I could see them now going like this. I think their their over-under win total was 12.5 before the season started. I think they're definitely going to cover that. And I think finals is back on now, assuming they take care of business. They got. I heard Josh Jenkins actually mention this, and I agree with him. That was a great win, right? That was brilliant. They proved what they could do, but they've got Port in Perth this week. You have to go and win that now.
Last time they needed to beat Port in Perth.
Exactly.
In Perth, they to make the finals, and
they lost. So I think that's going to be a real test if they can go there and have a really strong. Because Port are barely going at the moment. I know you want to we'll talk about them later from your perspective, but these are the games they have to win.
Yeah,
you just have to mark it in and go. Port are pretty much done this year.
Yeah,
they're not showing anything. You've got them at home after you've just had a big win against the Giants away from home. You need to win if you're going to be a finals team.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I think that it's a good take, mate. They are the ones that can make a run. I don't think Carlton can. Melbourne no, and it's just for me the other one outside. Sydney are only a game out.
I called them. I said they were done last week. I was still going to stick behind that because I can't just change after
They're
1 week.
a
But when
game
they lost
out.
to Essendon last week,
no, but they're a game out. Their injury list is insane. But the other thing with their injury list is the coming 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. They're getting a lot of those back. So
yeah,
if they can just tread water,
it's a good point,
and then get a run on, they're the ones. I just don't. But then someone's got to come out. That's the other thing.
So, well, maybe 2 teams have to come out if Freo going.
Freo's going. I don't know who they are. I don't know who the teams are. Shit, mate. Honestly, I was having a look at the drawing stuff. One of them could be Hawthorn. If you have a look in that, one of them could easily be Hawthorn.
Clip that up. Walley just mentioned that Hawthorn. No, well, I just want to go back to that Sydney take because I agree with what you're saying.
Yep.
Last week I said that they were done because that was one of the most despicable performances against the Bombers. But are we overreacting to a home win against Carlton, who have just been barely going as well? Because Look, they've got Melbourne.
Yes.
They've got Melbourne at the G this week. They just have to win that if they're. And Melbourne are starting to show a bit of form.
Four of their last 5, yeah.
Then they've got Adelaide at the SCG, which is a 50-50. Then they've got Richmond at the G, which you'd think that they win.
They didn't last year.
Then they've got true. Then they've got the bye. And then they've got Port in Adelaide. They've got the Dogs. Like, it's not an easy run. Even Freo at the SCG, they lost to them there last year. Was it a draw? Maybe I can't remember. Saints at Marvel, they lost that last year. Then they got North.
So maybe they are done.
They really. Well, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying they can't go on a run because Sydney are famous for doing this. But they've had many seasons where they started slowly and come back and made the 8. But I just think we're overreacting a little bit to them. I think Freo's draw is a lot better. And so if you told me, gun to my head, who's the team that comes up, I think it's them.
Okay.
I also don't think we can completely rule out Carlton just yet either.
So. Yeah, and every chance. What I will say,
because they're another team that when they get on a run,
I think Freo is definitely coming in. I don't know who's making way for Freo, but I think Freo's coming in.
Well, the Giants at the moment. I'd say the Giants. The other one
is Adelaide.
They've only won one game away from Adelaide this year.
Yeah, and that's the other one. So I look at Adelaide as well.
The form isn't as like they're 6-4, but you get the extra game there because I think they were the home or the away team of the showdown. I can't remember. Anyway, actually, I think they were the home team. Anyway, but they've obviously because of gather round as well. They get that extra game. So They've played more. The draw should be harder in the second half for Adelaide theoretically because they're going to need to win more games on the road. But they've managed to get to 6-4. But then a huge game coming up for them this week. They got West Coast, which I'm sure they'll get the job done there, and they'll have a good percentage booster. But yeah, I think they're the teams they're the only teams we can. I don't think Melbourne can do it.
No.
But that's a good segue because I wanted to talk about Brisbane.
Yeah.
Like if you said to me 2 weeks ago before that North game, who are the best two teams in the comp, I would have said Collingwood and Brisbane definitively. I would have said given the edge to Collingwood because of their record against Brisbane, but I would have said, we've all said it, but you've said it. They could go back to back.
100%.
They've drawn
100%.
to North Melbourne and lost to Melbourne at the Gabba in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and do you know what? This is interesting. This is a great game. Hawthorn, Brisbane.
What sets up
Twilight
for this.
Footy, MCG, not great. That's not ideal for Brisbane. Both going really poorly for a month.
Yep.
Brisbane just scraping through on the others and then being poor. So this will be interesting. I think that Hawthorn's last hit out was better. So Hawthorn's last 2 weeks were a good last quarter against Melbourne. Who are
the D's win doesn't look that bad.
Well, hang on. So we beat the D's by 5 goals. They then weren't beat Brisbane on 3 goals. So like there's a gap there. But the other thing is that the loss to Gold Coast, I'm comfortable with, happy with. The conditions up there, all of those things it's against. We get back to the G. We've got an extra 2 days break as well.
Yeah.
So as you know, I don't really back Hawthorn much. I don't need to. I don't punt on us a lot. I think that unless
I love punting against the Saints.
Yeah, but you do. You have to.
Teams.
And then I do season betting on us for the flag because do the round off.
I've never backed us for the flag.
Go the Julian Valance, round off your
Do you know
account.
I've never backed us for even in 2009 I backed the Cats when we were 19.
I understand that because what you do is you back that and that's the security bet. So it's your insurance.
True.
So you go, how much money will make this okay? And the answer is none. But if I can win an X amount of money, it's going to make it a little easier. And if I lose, I don't care because we won the flag.
Yeah.
So that works. But I'm saying I will be involved this weekend. I'll be backing Hawthorn.
Yep.
I'll be backing a Hawthorn line. I genuinely think that this is now. I saw enough in that Gold Coast game in the second half to go, okay, hang on, we're getting back to where we need to be. We've been pushed. We've been tested. We get Brisbane at the G. We've got an extra 2 days rest. We will be back to as close to full strength as we can possibly be. Cal Shadir will be much better on the G second game. And then they'll probably put Gunston around. It'll all work out. So I'm very keen on the Hawks this weekend.
Well, it's a big game, obviously, for both teams, but it almost feels like if it's a loss to the Lions, it feels a little bit more, what's going on here? Because we spoke to Lockie Neal on our normal Honest Beers show, and we asked him straight out, what are you guys doing to prevent this curse that's been going on the last few years, that when you are the Premier, the next year you have a bad year, down year, you miss the 8. And he seemed quite defiant that wasn't going to happen. And then clearly he'd been proven correct for the first 8 weeks of the year. But if they go on to lose to you guys, I'm not saying that they're going to miss the 8 and it's
It's
I'm
close,
not
though.
going to say the world's going to cave in, but it does, as you say, it does bring them back to the pack, because if they lose that, they're on 30 points. All of a sudden, Gold Coast, Hawthorn could overtake them. Then they're potentially slipping away that top 4 spot, and I'm sure the draw isn't going to get any easier for them.
So 2 weeks ago, the whole commentary around footy was that the top teams are starting to separate themselves. So Collingwood, Brisbane, starting to get some separation. Gold Coast, the Dogs. It's not the case now.
Yeah.
Collingwood, yes. Collingwood, yeah. I think the best 2 teams in it at the moment are Collingwood and Western Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I think what Western Bulldogs did on Saturday night against Witches Hats was...
Well, that's a good segue, because we'll talk about this.
Was very, very impressive.
Against Witches Hats.
Very, very impressive, but they did it...
You love that smashing Essendon, don't you?
No, I don't do it as much. I have actually, you'll notice, I have stopped going as hard on Essendon and Geelong in recent times. I'll tell you, I'm footy form god. I've given Geelong so many pump-ups. Because you can't not. They're such a successful club. I love the way they're run. I love the way that would be so easy to support. I wouldn't have said that if they hadn't have won the latest flag, because there was a bit of success. They had the middle success, and then they missed a bit. But like now with that, I look and go, if you're sort of a younger person that's been like watching footy for 20, 25 years, like Geelong, if you were too young for the late 80s, early 90s, they lost 4 in a short amount of time. That would be tough going. But now they're just so easy to support. Whereas Essendon are the opposite. They're not.
Well, I want to talk about that game, so that's a good segue. I think 3 or 4 weeks ago on this show, we were talking that we were believers in the Dogs, and I think the rest of the footy world is starting to catch up to us now, because I'm seeing a lot of that happening. But I also said on this show last week that I was most looking forward to that Saturday night game, because I thought Essendon... Not saying that I thought that they had arrived or anything like that, but I was really impressed with the way that
they won 5 or 6 or something, right? Like they were going well.
They were 5 and 3 leading into that game, because they had the one short after the Gold Coast game was abandoned. Yeah. But then to be smashed the way they were in the first half, well, for the whole game, but the first half really was where it was won and lost. The Dogs had plus 26 scoring shot differential. I saw a guy, one of the boys, Dimmy, shared this in the group thread. I mean, it was hilarious. The Bombers kicked 5-6, 36, and the Dogs had 37 scoring shots. If the Dogs kicked 37 behinds, they would have beaten them. It's a bizarre stat, but it is funny. It is funny sort of seeing and hearing that.
It's insane.
We've talked about Bailey Dale before, about how damaging he is. Like, since someone like go to him, then he has 49, and they were trying to get him the footy at all costs, but. The Dogs, the reason why I wanted to talk about him is because I've said I'm a believer. I feel even strongly about it now, and I'm really confident. I know this is a review show, but I'm really confident in them beating the Cats on Thursday night. I just think their midfield will beat them up. Danger obviously is out. It's in Geelong. I know it's in Geelong, but I don't think teams are scared. I think the Dogs are the brand that they play and the way that their midfield dominates. I don't think. They fucking play at Mars Stadium, which is a local footy ground, and they seem to go pretty well there. I think they're going to be fine in Geelong. I think the last time I looked, they were $1.96. They were the slight outsiders. I'm certain that they will beat the Cats this week.
So this is the thing, is that
unless Chris Scott does a Chris Scott masterclass,
which he does, though. He does it so much. He does
do it.
It's annoying. Well, these are the tough games, because you don't want to back against a team like the Dogs that are going this well. But I've also learnt my lesson to back against Geelong at home. Yeah. The only thing that I would say is that you saw what Geelong did travelling after they lost at home. So maybe if they'd have lost to Port and they were coming back, I'd be all in on Geelong.
Yeah, so there's no way they're going to lose.
They're not going to lose again. Yeah. But I don't know. They smacked up Port. Jezza had a day out, or a night out.
Well, Jezza had that day out because of Danger's injury. So that's the other thing. If you want to back anything, back Jezza 3 or 4 plus, because now that Dangerfield's gone out of that forward line, it's all about him again. After we were wondering what's going on with Jeremy Cameron.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'll tell you what I will be doing for that game is just watching and enjoying it. Though.
Yeah. Well, and Dreamtime on Friday night is actually not that bad now, because the Tigers are taking up to teams.
Oh, mate.
I mean the game itself. I think Dreamtime on a Friday works as well, but I'm just saying.
It's the first time. It's usually Saturday night.
First time. I think Richmond take it up. I don't think that's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be tight.
Is Lawler the future face of the AFL? Is he the one?
Well, it's the most recent number 1 draft pick, so I guess now. Is Nick Dacos still allowed to be the future, given he's 22? I think Lawler. I think Harley Reid. Harley Reid was great against us.
I mean, okay. Well, I'll give you this. I go. Who's going to be the
Harley Reid's more marketable.
Who would you take if you were starting your team today, Lawler or Reid?
I'd still take Harley Reid.
So I'd take Lawler. Like and so fast.
Yeah,
I would just take him so quickly.
I mean, I love them both.
The way his temperament and the way he goes at the ball, and then just there's something about him.
They're both special. I'm only saying Reid now. Maybe next year I'll look like an idiot and it'll be clearly Lawler. But I think we're allowing a lot of the media to like crush Harley Reid.
No, I'm not anti-Reid. I'm pro both.
He had some games last year in a fucking terrible team. Like that West Coast team last year, and this year was worse than the Richmond team.
What was the game? Was it when they played? Who'd they play?
Melbourne, and he had those.
Oh, it was special. I'm not anti-Harley Reid either. And then would you take Darcy over any of them?
I probably would if you're saying give me more of a chance to win. But like, who's going to be the better player?
Future of the league's in good hands.
I saw another Darcy playing for the Oakley Chargers at the weekend.
There's another one,
younger brother, and he looks fucking like he's a beanpole as well. Just tall, lanky. You will probably mark everything. Right. I know. The dogs and the cats have been kissed on the dick with father son.
Mate. You do not want to start this now because you guys have finally got some coming through.
Oh, I know, but
and they're all playing together, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're all playing junior footy together.
Yeah, they better be half decent. But it's just bizarre that like Libber and I don't know, there's heaps of other ones.
Yeah,
but
mate,
like
they've had heaps
and the cats as well. Anyway, extraordinary stuff. I just wanted to. I feel like we talk about them every week, but I just want to again talk about the Pies. What a football club!
We talk about them because they
are just.
You talk about club that's easy to support.
They are an unbelievable. Yeah, that's the other one. Because even though they haven't had the success, like they lost in 18, they still won in 2010. They obviously won in 2023, but they give you. They'll have one bad year every 4 or 5 years where they end up getting Nick Dacos or something like that. But they're going to get him anyway. But you know what I mean. But then that you're going to get a team that is competitive. They'll make the top 4. They'll make a grand final every couple of years. Like they're just. It's staggering how good they are.
I don't hate Collingwood. I don't have the same. You know how a lot of people hate Collingwood. I don't have the same.
I just have respect.
Well, we were there when they won the flag. We were lucky enough to be at the game, not last year in 23. And when the Collingwood champ went out late in the game, we were saying like that was
pretty special. If you had,
and I'll tell you what. Remember, we said both fans. Like, we didn't see one dickhead Collingwood fan. Or
no, they were really good. The ones around us. We can only comment about the ones around us.
But like within the bays around us, it was respectful because I think people just appreciated like how good of a game of footy it was. But they are doing everything.
They just
right.
find like Adelaide had a great opportunity to win that, and the Pies just took their chances and pulled away. I know, but they just pulled away at the right time.
Okay, so the biggest takeaway I have for Collingwood in recent years is that in 22 when they came close to a grand final, in 23 when they actually won it, and even to a lesser extent last year, but those 2 years mainly, because last year they did come late. They missed out on the 8 ball
percentage. So many injuries as well.
They had so many injuries. They can sustain. They're not one of these teams that goes up and comes down. They can sustain their run because they win. They love being in those uncomfortable situations. They love the fight, and they just don't give up. It's insane. Like
it also speaks volumes about their mentality with the way they reacted when we're going back a few weeks now. But when Jack Crisp missed that shot, the way they all went over and hugged him. Yeah. And smiled, and
then what did he do? He made a parody video of himself, like on the Monday or Tuesday at the park, which tells you he's 100% fine because they've all gone. Do you know what? It's so much bigger than this. Yeah, that was less about the win-loss sheet and more about it would have been a lovely moment for him individually and the fans to see. But it doesn't. It's not going to affect their season. Yeah, it's not going to affect it all. They bounce like straight back. Like I'll tell you right now, they are going to be 100% fine. They're going to be absolutely fine. Whether they won or lost that game. But what they have is that they can be up the whole year. We've seen it twice before where they stayed up the whole year. They didn't have a massive drop-off. People go, oh, you don't want to be playing your best footy now? I don't think it matters with them. It's bizarre. This team under McRae, they can play this level all year and sustain it through finals.
100%. And they have...
They're going to be... They're their grand final day. I genuinely think it's who they're playing. They are just dialed in.
They are. And I think... like the Tim Membry edition. You look at
been good.
Houston. I mean, Houston hasn't played that well, but he's going to, I'm sure, find his groove at some point. Perryman as well. Like there's so much more depth. Darcy Cameron, who had an unbelievable, almost like a breakout year last year, has gotten better this year. If he's not the All-Australian mark, he's very much in there.
Darcy Moore's playing his best footy in years.
Yeah.
Jamie Elliott's back.
Yeah, Jamie Elliott's back. Like Pendlebury and Sidebottom are just ageless.
No, that's the other thing is that Pendlebury and Sidebottom again best footy. Sidebottom. This is Sidebottom's best year in some time. Pendlebury was good again last year, but like
it's special to watch what they're doing at the moment.
Like it's.
And I won't go into any more detail about it. I think they're going really well.
I don't see a world when they're not in the grand final. So, I just genuinely think it's who they're playing. I believe they can sustain it all year.
Now I don't need to go with my honest take because we buried the lead earlier. Sorry, we went straight to the lead. I said that Freo were going to play finals. I think they're going to return, but yours is an interesting one this week. Fire up! I think this could. Yeah.
This has nothing to do with who I support. I guarantee you that.
Okay.
Port Adelaide need to pull the trigger on Ken Hinkley. This is now untenable. I think he should walk away. You have two coaches. You've said Josh Carr is our guy for the future. Make him your guy now. Like they are only getting up for emotional. You've spoken about this, how he's an emotional coach. They are only getting themselves up for these emotional games. This is no way for a football club to operate. That is amateur stuff. That is how a local footy club play. Getting motivated because, we hate these blokes. Like, no. Like, you're an AFL outfit. They got up for the showdown and they got up for Hawthorn game. They're the two games where they've got up and they've been amazing. Mate, they need to move on now before it's too late. I think the season's gone, but you need to... what are we doing here?
Do you think that he would stand out, or do you think he's going to go through it?
Unfortunately, I don't think he would, but he should. I'd be embarrassed about what's happening to my legacy at the moment. And there's no premierships in it, so I'm not saying it's not like he's not Hardwick or Clarko, where the exit might not have been great, but the legacy is pretty good. So I mean, both of them as well probably didn't do themselves any favors. Clarko, less of his choice.
Dimmer left pretty early.
Dimmer sort of like made some trade moves and then just left halfway through. The way both Dimmer and Clarko left was
very bad. And
so, but the thing is that they've both got like 3 or 4 premierships, so it's very different. Ken doesn't. I think he just should make the move. I would love somebody to make the argument to me, a logical argument on why Ken Hinkley should continue to coach the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand it. And I would be all ears. And if I could be swayed with a logical argument, I'd go, I'm wrong. What's the reason? What is the actual reason? Do you know a reason?
I don't know. I think it's mainly because they're probably just, we're going to stick to the plan that we outlined. But
Which is
sometimes you need to change the plan on the fly if it's not working.
If Chris Scott, Chris Scott's the best coach in the game?
I think so.
Do we think he's the best? Okay, great. So Chris Scott's the best coach in the game. If not, he's right up there. If Chris Scott has a player getting an absolute bath in playing in one area of the ground on one player, does he make a move at 3/4 time? Yes, he does.
Of course he does.
Of course he does. There is no, I mean, it's a rhetorical question. Of course he makes the change, right? Why it's not working? The whole thing hasn't worked. These things don't work. The only one that ever worked, was Ruse and Longmire. Because Paul Ruse basically goes, it was probably his idea. And he was like, I'm done. Like, do you know what I mean? That one worked. Is there been another succession plan that's ever worked?
No, it hasn't been. No, I mean, you look at...
I'm not talking about on-field success. So, like, the Mitchell Clarkson one from our... It's working because Mitchell's doing a great job. Like,
but it was a shit... It was handled terribly.
Horrendously. But none of them have worked.
Yeah.
None of them are good.
Yeah.
Are they?
No.
So,
it's bad.
It's bad.
On that, my take on, like, as a follow-up, I hate Connor Rousey playing as a halfback. I think... Do you think if you're playing against Port Adelaide, right? I know he's getting a lot of the footy and he's running around and he's kicking the ball and all that and he's getting
kicking the ball.
But you know what I mean? But like, if you're playing against Port Adelaide and you tell me where do you want Connor Rousey to play, I'm like, I'm happy if he's halfback. I don't want him in the midfield. I don't want him forward.
Brownie would say the easiest position on the ground.
I mean, like, yeah, he's getting the footy and his ball use is great and he's a break the line type player. But I think Rosie, Butters, and Horn Francis as your starting three mids is just about as good as it gets when they're at their best.
So,
and we're being deprived of that or depraved of that, whatever the word is, and I don't think it actually helps their football club.
So I completely agree. I think that if you have those three in the middle and they're all playing to their best, they're top 5 midfield in the comp, maybe even top 3. Like they are
absolutely.
They are,
and they could
incredible.
be mids for the next 10 years.
And that's the whole thing. Is that is Butters going to be there? Do we think?
Oh, I'm just saying if he was to stay, yes. I think he's more likely to go based on every, like, and I don't have any, I have a little bit of intel.
Where do you reckon he'll go?
I think he'll go to Geelong.
Okay, like everyone else.
Yeah. I don't know how, but I think he'll go to Geelong. I think they'll find a way to get it done.
If he doesn't go to Geelong, where do you reckon? Essendon or someone?
Well, he grew up a Dogs fan. There was a lot of murmuring about the Dogs.
They don't need another midfielder, Simon. What are they going to do with another mid? Honestly, as good as he is. I mean, he'll play, but what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, there's versatility.
You're going to play Treloar in the twos, mate?
Well, you probably, that's
I mean, Treloar and Bont are getting older, obviously.
Yeah, and Treloar's hammies and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know, but like, it's there. I guess they are getting older.
There's versatility in their midfield group, though. Like, Bont can go forward for a quarter. Ed Richards can play half back and go back in the middle or play wing. Like, there's versatility. Libba's probably the only one, and Treloar, they're the only two that you go, they can only play one position on the ground.
Yeah, they're genuine mids.
The rest can kind of move around. So I wouldn't mind, Butters being an impact player at half forward and then going back into the centre of the ground.
So answer me this then. Where's Harley Reid going? Because he's coming back.
Well, I think he'll see out the contract, so he'll stay next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Hawthorn.
So the thing is that, like, because the mail is Geelong's in the box seat, so you can't get Butters and Reid. You wouldn't want to anyway. You'd just be tying too much of your money up.
They need midfielders, though.
Yeah, I know, but you just couldn't afford.
But you don't know what they're going to do with other players that are on their list. Like, you can find ways, and where their contracts are out, like in terms of front-ended, back-ended, like who knows, right? But I think Butters to the Cats. I reckon Harley Reid's a Hawthorn player in 2 years.
Yeah, I've heard that. It'd be interesting.
It's hard, though. It's a crystal ball.
Can I give my take on what should happen here if you're the Richmond Football Club? Because don't forget North Melbourne, sorry, Kingy. Another North Melbourne decision. Richmond have North Melbourne's number 1 pick in the draft. I've never seen a team dominate the draft like Richmond did last year. I just want to give him a shout. By the way, they reckon, is it Taj Houghton? Pendlebury was talking about because he must have done some work with him. Apparently, he reckons he's the best of all of them.
Yeah, okay.
And he had the ACL or something. He had an injury.
Yeah.
And we haven't even seen him yet. And he's meant to be like the best of them. Anyway, neither here nor there. But Richmond get North's number 1 pick. So Richmond's probably going to have pick 2 and 3 in the draft or 2 and 4, something like that, right? I'd just package him up and go to West Coast and get Harley Reid. And then you're just adding an absolute. Then you don't need to choose. You got Lawler, and imagine you had Reid and Lawler together, plus the rest of this just ensemble that they're putting together.
If only if North had a crack at Harley Reid after they had the opportunity to get him, but they beat Gold Coast in Blundstone Arena in a random game to lose the number 1 pick, and then they go and give up all these picks. Do you know why else that is absolutely was such a bad decision now? Because that has not installed any winning culture in the club. Yeah. They're still battling. Well, they are, and Richmond's closer to a flag than North Melbourne. Yeah, and this is disappointing for North because, and we'll talk about this when we get to the community takes, which I don't want to punch down on North. I really don't, because I genuinely. One thing I will say, so I had a couple of mates who were at the game on Sunday. Yep, and they were saying to me that they were surprised. They were Richmond fans saying they were surprised how much it meant to North fans. And like the reaction was like they won a final. Like I'm like, mate, it would be so hard being a North fan. Like they were like shit. Like it really was like emotional for them. I'm like, they beat us. They should be beating us. Yeah. And I'm like, mate, that's you Richmond like that for 37 years. Yeah. And then they finally broke through and won in 17. But like these Cubs, I feel for some of these fan bases. Yeah, it's tough. It's really hard. Carlton. Yeah. Essendon, I don't even hate on Essendon anymore because I just feel sorry for them. They're not winning a final for thousands more days. Let's move on. We've got to go to the community takes because the first one is Kingy. It's the first. He always is. Oh, Kingy. That's why I already apologise, Kingy. Kanga. North, the most informed team in the comp. That Cornsey flog. Well, I was happy they had the draw and a win. But my comment to this, and I was saving it up for this question or this point that he makes is Richmond shouldn't be ahead in the rebuild, but they are already, you feel. Like that was a game, like that was disappointing. North have been rebuilding for a few years. They've had Clarko for a little bit now. The market suggested, I think they were $1.50. The market suggested that North should take care of business, not easily with $1.50, but you think maybe a 3-4 goal win.
Yeah.
They scraped over the line, and that could have gone either way if not for a sort of a match-saving mark at the end. Richmond had a bit of momentum late. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying be disappointed. Like, sometimes you just got to get the 4 points and move on. And maybe if the game's at Marvel, it's a different game. Like, maybe North win by 5 goals, but it's not. It's at the G, and they're the games you want to rock up and have a good win.
Honest, the whole thing with Marvel, this is the G is the one ground everybody should be winning at for 3 reasons. 1, you have to be winning in finals. 2, where else would you rather play footy? And 3, there's no bizarre dimensions. It's just a normal footy ground.
No.
Nice, big, open, normal footy ground. So I look at those 3 things and I go, like, every time you step foot on the MCG, you should really want it. You'd be ready to play footy.
Yeah, you want to.
As I said, it's not an obscure like a Norwood or a GMHBA with this long, thin, awkward ground or an SCG that's squashed in and super wide or whatever it is. I mean, you should. And you have to be able to win games of footy on there. So, well, I feel for North supporters this season again, and I'm actually happy for them. They had a win.
Yeah.
Tigers. We spoke about this. They've already had a win. Their seasons. They've had their 3 wins. They'll find another couple.
Yeah.
They'll win 5 games this year.
Got a question here for you.
Yeah. All right. Far away.
It's from DT.
Oh yeah.
He said, Wally, when are you going to play for the Div 12 Rezzies?
Oh God.
They have been asking you for a while.
I'm going to play a game. I'm just working. I'm actually, believe it or not, there is some talks going on behind the scenes.
Really?
So I will confirm
again this season. You're saying?
I'll be playing this season.
Okay, we'll have to head down there with the cameras, I think, Olivia, for that one.
So I'll be playing this season, but there's some talks. By the way, DT, who I had the pleasure of meeting at Gather Round.
Yep.
I asked some questions around him and his footballing ability. He is playing 2 grades under where he should be.
Yeah.
My mail is that he's a ones player playing in the thirds because he just
He had 46 touches at the weekend. So.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
So
Which he told everyone about. He's playing the Conor Rosé role.
That's
Probably
outstanding.
29 kick-ins.
No, that was my understanding of that.
He's a smooth mover on the footy field, LDT.
No, I'll link up with him. I'll play another halfback flank.
Good question, this one. Which teams and players, maybe choose one or the other, have been the biggest surprises this season so far? So pick a team or pick a player. So I'm gonna go the Dogs. The reason why I'm going the Dogs is that if you ask most people prior to the season who's the coach that's the most in trouble, I reckon a lot of people would have said Bevo. So that means that the expectation was that they weren't going to go very well. And then you lose Darcy. They've had the Jamari Ugle-Hagan issue, and they're still at this position. Trelaw's been injured. They're still at this situation where, like, they look as if they're one of the best teams in the comp.
Yeah.
Beat the Cats this week, and who knows what their ceiling is. So I think they deserve a lot of credit because a lot of people wrote them off at the start of the year. A lot of people wrote them off after the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Remember they also didn't have Bont for the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's a good shout. I would say Sydney, but the injuries are there, so I'm not
surprised in a bad way.
Yeah, in a bad way. Look, I think that the positive surprise it's Richmond. They've won. They covered their line in the first quarter of the season. In the first 7 or 8 games, or the third of the season, they covered their line, and that's we operate in that space, right? Betting lines, right?
Yes.
So the fact that a team is able to cover their betting line a third of the way through the season and has already avoided they're not winning the spoon.
No,
for me, is a massive shock.
Yeah.
They were like odds on. They were in the red. They were $1 something to win the spoon.
Yeah,
like $1. It was. I reckon they were like $1.20, $1.30 to win the spoon, and now they've basically avoided it. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, in a positive one, that's it. Doggies as well, I agree with. The other one is, to be honest, I'm not over how good Collingwood are this year. Is a little surprise as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of player, a player that surprised me this year. A lot of the good players have just gone to they're still at a level. Who surprised me?
Well, for me, it's Jack Higgins. He's kicked 28 goals and he's one off the common at the moment. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He kicked 60 goals this year.
Higgins, if I was going to say another one, the other one, I didn't think Jamie Elliott had much footy left in him, and he's
still side bottom's another one.
Yeah, but the thing is with Jamie and Jack at the moment, if you're picking your Australian team, one of them is your small forward.
Yeah.
And they're probably as big a surprise as each other.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Let's just go with a couple more. Bergs has said here, Port shit, but Essendon are more shit.
Is that Miles Bergman?
Fuck, yeah. Interesting Port fan who's hating on the Dons, which, we love it when we get that from the audience with people trying to just give a little bit of shit to other teams. But, look, Essendon were bad. I think we can't gloss over that fact. They need to bounce back and they need to win. They need to win Dreamtime by a bit, I reckon. They can't just have another, like the game against North where they scraped over the line. They scraped over the line against another average team as well who escapes me. West Coast in Perth. They just got over the line there, nearly lost. If they beat Richmond by a kick, it's not good. They could be the worst 6-4 team ever.
What if Richmond win?
Richmond win, then
that's
yeah. I mean the Bombers' percentage is hovering around 80. And they've won 5 and they're 5-4.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
So yeah, they just have to win.
But they're good footy. Some of their good footy's been okay though.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll wait and see. Yeah, them and Port in a very similar boat. Well, we said the football world said that's the worst game of footy you've seen.
Yeah.
The Port Adelaide Essendon, which I had the privilege of seeing live.
There's been some bad ones this year. I
There has
don't know if
been.
that's the worst I've seen.
But mate, there's bad ones every year. We're just saying it's
North
recency
was pretty bad in the
bias.
second half.
Yeah.
St Kilda Freo wasn't great either.
Essendon North.
Last one,
but it was close. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Last one that we're going to go with before we leave is from Pato. What would happen? That's a good one.
Is it a football pondering?
What would have to happen for Simon to barrack for Tassie? No one would begrudge him. I don't think if I chose to leave St Kilda, I would choose Tassie though. I think it's hard because I don't really like Damien Hardwick, but it'd be the Suns or the Hawks.
Yeah.
It's probably the Hawks. But
it's probably the Hawks.
The hard thing with the Hawks, the only reason why is, as much as I love the Hawks, going for another Victorian team.
No, you can't do it.
You just
not just that. Like we have it's a southeast suburban football team. It's just there's two. We both used to play at Waverley. It's too close. No, I think that if you were going to change teams, the Gold Coast would be your team. Because
I think the Giants have been good. Like they haven't won the flag and had the ultimate, but they've been in a grand final. They've made prelims. They've been good most years of their existence, really. If you look at it since 2014, 2015 onwards, pretty much they've been good. So I'm sort of I think the Suns, they've never made the 8.
Yeah. And mine would be the Giants, obviously.
Yeah, yours would be.
So that'd be great. Like then we could go with because they're expansion teams. They're not long. Because I love the Saints. I love the Tigs, but you can't another Victorian team.
No, you can't go for another.
Absolutely
Victorian team.
not. But an interstater,
Tassie doesn't interest. There's no offense, Pato, but no offense to anyone from that region. But
Rumman doesn't get you over the line.
Yeah, just Tasmania just doesn't really interest me as a team. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about. They don't have any players. They don't have a coach.
Have you seen the way they're doing the draft picks this time? So they will get a whole heap of draft picks, but they have to trade a heap of those top end ones out.
Yeah, okay.
So basically, they get pick. I think it's 1, 3, 5 or something. But they've got to trade 3 and 5.
Yeah,
it's a good idea.
It is a good idea.
So then that way, the draft will still open up to everyone, but they're going to get some proper. So rather than just going, you can go and have a player. You have the right to poach player from each team. All that exactly right. Now they actually have to trade those top draft picks out for them.
Well, hopefully they do a better job than the Suns did getting some of those senior players that they got that just chased cash and then ended up Brennan, Bock, Campbell Brown.
Went up there.
Bad ones.
And then Brownie, Bock, Jared Brennan.
Yeah.
You say Harbrow.
Yep.
And Riscatelli.
Yeah.
And then and then just Gary Ablett at $2 million a year.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was, eating full raw heads of broccoli.
Well, I actually reckon they got a lot of the draft picks right, like Tom Lynch and Dion Preston. These guys, unfortunately, they left, but they got a lot of the picks.
Have you seen the players? They got
Stephen
May.
Yeah, they got the picks right. They just didn't get the senior players right, I think.
And also, they just couldn't get me. I think that the way I think if GWS, let's be honest, Both of them, if you looked at their talent list, it's pretty hard to muck up a draft when you've got pick 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11.
Yeah.
You don't need to hit them all. You can miss on a couple. Gold Coast might win a flag before GWS.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
After all the prelims, the grand final.
I'm a big believer. I think GWS are just non-winners. I think they're just non-winners. I don't care where they finish this year. I don't care where they find. Will they finish top 4 or will they fall out? So they're more chance of missing the 8 than finishing top 4.
Okay.
They're 5-5.
Great.
And fucking 1 week on, 1 week off.
Will Gold Coast finish top 4?
I think they can.
I reckon Gold Coast is going to finish 3rd or 4th.
Well, see, it depends on the Dogs and the Hawks.
And I reckon what's going to happen is that they're going to lose, win, lose. I'm telling you now, Gold Coast will go out in the semi-finals. They will, after losing a prelim, losing a qualifying. This is how I've done my ladder prediction.
Wow.
Gold Coast will finish 3rd or 4th, lose to a Collingwood or a Brisbane or a Western, probably Collingwood, Western Bulldogs, something like that. Then they will play. Could be a Hawthorn or a Geelong or an Adelaide in Gold Coast, and they have a win and it'll be stirring and they'll be up and about and they'll be all over the media, and then they will have to go and they'll have to travel back down to Victoria and they'll get smacked in a prelim.
Okay.
Qualifying, win semi, lose prelim.
I'd love the Suns to get the opportunity to play a final with 90,000 against the Pies at the G, like for that footy club.
It would be amazing.
Suns to play in front of 90,000 people at the G, 95,000.
It'd be amazing.
Would be amazing.
It'd be amazing. I just don't, first up, I just don't know.
Deers in the headlights probably a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we've got to go because we could keep going forever. But Wally, you've been great. Good luck this week. And I guess I got to say, go Saints.
Go Hawks.